And welcome to the Bulloch Sports Report. I'm Josh Aubrey. Plenty to get to in this week's show. Area high school football teams winding down their regular seasons and getting ready for the postseason. As for the Georgia Southern Eagles, they're hoping to have a little better November and December than they've had over the past few years. Still one game away from being bowl eligible. The Eagles went on the road last week, and unfortunately they laid an egg on the road at Old Dominion, their first conference loss of the season. Now they've got to go to a very tough place to play in Mobile, Alabama, taking on South Alabama. Both teams are 3-1 so far in the Sun Belt, and we'll hear from head coach Clay Helton and a few of the Eagle players coming up in just a minute. As for area high schools, you've got the Statesboro Blue Devils still with their faint playoff hopes alive. They'll hit the road for Effingham County. We'll hear from Matt Dobbs and some of his players. Aaron Phillips and the Bulloch Academy Gators wrapped up a perfect regular season. They're 9-0. They dismantled Pinewood this past week. We'll hear from him and a couple of his players as they have a bye week this week before starting the state playoffs the following week. As for Southeast Bulloch, they were able to come up with a huge win on the road in Ludowici against Long County, 15-12. The Jackets will be wrapping up, or they still have 2 games left. Beginning this week, they'll host the Bulldogs from Beach, and then the Portal Panthers, looking to rebound from a loss last week against Screven County. They'll be on the road in Darien against McIntosh County Academy. We'll hear from all those coaches coming up in just a moment, but coming up next, we'll hear from head coach Clay Helton and some of the Georgia Southern Eagles. And a reminder before we go to break, hopefully you'll never be in an accident, but if so, please give our friends at the Sullivan Law Firm a call, 912-489-8888, or online at thesullivanlawfirm.com. Big news out of the Georgia Southern Athletic Department this week as Athletic Director Jared Benko has accepted a position as Executive Deputy Director of Athletics at Auburn University. Benko has been with Georgia Southern since 2020. His replacement has also been here since 2020 as the Eagles have announced COO Chris Davis will take over as Athletic Director upon Benko's departure on November 15th. A press conference is scheduled for Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock at Hanner Fieldhouse. Well, Georgia Southern went on the road to Old Dominion and the road hit back. Unfortunately, the Eagles dropped their first Sun Belt game of the season in lopsided fashion. Not much time to lick their wounds from that one, although they do have a couple extra days since they played on a Thursday. But this week, on the road against another team who's 3-1 in conference play, South Alabama. They're coming off a big win over ULM this past week. We had a chance to talk with Coach Clay Helton about, amongst other things, the quarterback situation, whether he'll be starting J.C. French or Dexter Williams, and if he's not going to start Dexter, will he come into the game at any point? Well, let's hear from Coach about that as well as South Alabama.
When you're playing such a great level of football over a 3-game win streak and a high standard and you're executing well and then you don't go out there and meet that standard, obviously it's disappointing for you as a head coach, a coaching staff, as players, and we were all disappointed in that outing. That's a good thing. Having done it for so long, I know when you're in these situations and you're getting ready to hit November and you have that style of game, it's very important to have immense poise as a football team, to be able to be brutally honest and be able to look at each other and say, hey, here's what went wrong, identify the corrections that need to be made, make those corrections, and then respond. And the good news is, this has been a great response football team, and I anticipate them responding. You look at after a Boise State loss, coming back against Nevada on a hard road game, being able to respond after Ole Miss, responding against Georgia State. And I could see it even from yesterday's practice, their focus and re-energized, being able to walk into November where we wanted to be. I think about where, we were last January wanting to make November relevant, and it means something. And here we sit in first place, tied for first place in November with 4 games left that will decide our opportunities to move on further. And so it's important for us to be able to get out there this week, put a great game plan against a really good South Alabama football team that's responding, making a response of their own. Their last 2 games have been stellar. Probably their best football game against ULM last week. Unbelievable run game with 2 runners that combined already have over 1,000 yards. Gio Lopez that is executing the offense extremely well with Coach Applewhite, protecting the football with 13 touchdowns, 1 interception. Also has 350 yards rushing in his own, So defensively, I think they're doing a wonderful job also. You're talking about being plus 10 turnover margin, as well as their red zone defense and third down defense, one of the top in the country in all 3 areas. So it's a huge challenge for us. It needs to be a huge response from us after Thursday night. College football, the beauty of what our guys are learning is, when you win games, you get all the applause as a head coach and as a quarterback. And when you don't win a game, you get the other side of it. And that's part of the territory. When you look at JC and you look at the last 2 games, he has thrown 5 touchdown passes. He secured the ball better this game than he did the previous game against James Madison, which was a win. He had a higher accuracy rate than the guy that's behind him in this last football game. So he's going to walk out there first. And like I just said, and like I've told both quarterbacks with them in the same room, as well as the offensive coordinator, hey guys, it's my job that if there needs to be a change at any point in time in a game, just like you see the World Series, starting pitcher goes out there. He's on fire, guess what he gets to do? He gets to stay out there. That's JC's job, to go do that. And if he's not doing that, what do? They bring a good reliever in, which we have. So as you get to these point in times in November, especially when you're battling for a championship, those are the decisions that have to be made, and I'll make those decisions.
Well, for the Eagle offense, they had a couple of big plays this past week, but overall struggled a little bit, especially on the ground. We had a chance to talk with wide receiver Josh Dallas about how he feels the Eagles played last week and what they're going to need to do in order to be successful this week against South Alabama.
I'd say the biggest thing that our coaching staff talks about as our offense is that it's extremely important to start fast, and obviously that's something we're going to be harping on going into this week. But you're exactly right. On weeks it seems like we come out hot and we start firing from the beginning. It feels like we have a lot more of a control on the game, and so that's what we're going to continue trying to go into with South Al. We want to be process-driven instead of results-driven, and what that goes down to is what you can control as an individual. And that's the beautiful thing about the game of football is you have to harp on the things that you can control. So it goes back to, are you doing the extra work in the film room? Are you doing all your responsibilities in the classroom? Are you working hard in the weight room? Are you doing the extra work on the jugs machine? Whatever it is, you need to be process-driven instead of results-driven. Sometimes the results is up to a lot of things that are exterior and factors that you don't have a control on. But a lot of times you're going to look up and be happy with the results if you have your hand on that process and you're making the most of everything that you can be doing as an individual. When you're going through tough things or back-to-back away games or something like that, you want to fall on your culture. So it's toughness, discipline, and united. And that's what Coach Helton preaches. That's why he preached on a random Tuesday in the winter. And he's preached it every single day so that when we get in tough moments like this, that we can fall back on our culture. So we're going to continue to work on being tough, disciplined, and united, and leaning on our coaching staff, leaning on our players to do that.
Well, it was a total team loss last week at Old Dominion. The offense, special teams, and the defense all struggling. We had a chance to talk with linebacker and captain Marquez Watson-Trent about what he feels the Eagles struggled with last week and how they tend to turn that around this week as they play South Alabama.
Game plan wise, they came and gave us everything they got. They threw 3 pop passes. They had a good scheme as far as running the ball and also passing the ball. I feel like they played their best, and I felt like we didn't meet that standard in our play our brand of football. You can say short week, away game, and stuff like that, but I feel like none of that stuff matters. You got to put your best foot out there whenever it is, and I feel like they did, and we didn't. I know Coach Bailey's going to have a great plan as far as attacking them in different ways. Our job is just to learn the plan and be confident in that, to be able to play physical and fast. And I think that's the most important thing. And no matter what gets called, we have players that make plays, and we got to make those plays. And those are the biggest thing. And it starts with me. And that's something that I'm going to focus on all week, making the plays when it comes my ways, and doing everything I can to set the tone.
And stay with us. Up next, we'll hear from some of our area high school coaches and their players.
This is Paul Newman with Statesboro Real Estate. Have you been on the sidelines? Well, now's the time to list your house. Let's GATA and get after those assets.
Well, the Statesboro Blue Devils are coming off a big win on the road at South Effingham. They're going to be heading right back up 119 this week as they hit the road for Effingham County. A much tougher task. We had a chance to talk with head coach Matt Dobson, as well as a couple of his players, about how they played last week and how they intend to go into this Effingham County game.
I thought our guys did a good job of doing what they were supposed to do, playing a team that that we're better than, and but going out, sometimes in games like that you can sleepwalk in them, and our guys didn't. They came out, started fast, offensively and defensively, and got a big lead like we wanted, and then played our starters the first drive of the second half on offense and defense, and got a score. And then we were ready to play a lot of young guys, which is exciting. These young guys, they work. They come to practice, and to get them some minutes on Friday night, played a lot of freshmen and sophomores in that second half, and so exciting for them to get those minutes.
Your receivers in the backs have done a great job with yards after catches.
Yeah, I think probably the brightest spot with those guys is we got a lot of different guys that are catching the football. We got 2 or 3 different backs catching the ball out of the backfield on a weekly basis, and then we got really kind of 4 wide receivers plus a tight end and Rashad Chavers that are all getting catches and getting in the end zone. I think we've got I think we're up to 7 different guys have caught touchdown passes this year, and so really excited to see different guys make plays. And the best part is most of those guys will be back again next year, and they're just getting great experience this year.
Big game on the road Friday. Keep hope alive for state playoffs at Effingham County. What do you expect out of them?
Yeah, they're very good offensively. They're throwing it around. They got some really good receivers. They got two senior wideouts and a sophomore, or really 3 senior wideouts and a sophomore wideout. They're all really explosive. And then their running back's really explosive, and their quarterback is just really good at getting the ball to those guys in space and letting them make plays with it. They're the number 1 passing offense in our region. They do a really good job there. And then defensively, they start 8 seniors on defense. They've given up some points at times this year. Then other times they've played really good. And so we got to try to find those matchups that we can exploit and try to get some points on the board, because we're not going to shut this team out. Nobody has all year. They've played good opponents, and they put points up. And so we got to try to match up with them on the scoreboard.
Feeling good. We looked good today at practice, and South Effingham, of course. I think we'll do good this game. We just got to keep up the pace and keep the ball moving down the field.
Where do you see the strengths and the growth that you guys have made on offense?
The strengths, probably we got to get stronger with the running the ball, which we have done all year, and the passing part of it, we've done really good. I feel like that's our strong suit right now. We just got to keep doing what we're doing.
I feel like we're doing good so far. I feel like we're going in the direction that we need to go to be a winning team.
Where do you see the team getting better?
I see us getting better at a physical standpoint and being more disciplined on the field. Feel great. Another time to compete, playing against another good team, looking to stop them.
The Bulloch County Farm Bureau on Northside Drive is a multi-line insurance agent writing farm, auto, homeowners, life, health insurance, and more. Nick Sherrod and the other 5 local agents are on standby for your convenience for in-depth insurance review. And while you're there, check out the products from local farmers. Located at 940 Northside Drive, stop by and see them today. The Southeast Bulloch Yellow Jackets pulled off their biggest win of the season this past week, a 15-12 victory over Long County, which gives them the inside track on the number 3 spot in the upcoming state playoffs. This week they'll be hosting Beach. We had a chance to talk with head coach Jared Zito and a couple of his players about the matchup.
We played with tremendous guts, faith, belief. I told him it was going to be a four-quarter game, a physical game, a well-coached team. It was going to come down to who wanted it more, who's going to be more physical, and who made more plays. And first thing is defensively, I mean, we just were phenomenal. Minus about maybe 6 plays, I felt like we really were close to either a shutout or giving up only 6. So that was the first thing. And then just we made plays in all 3 phases when we had to make plays. It wasn't always pretty. It was a lot closer than it appeared offensively at times, but we made plays when we had to make. And sometimes learning how to win those tough games on the road can be a really important lesson this part of the season.
The beach game, what do you expect? How's the team doing that? I mean, I guess this would be a place where you could see a letdown from your team. I guess you guys have gone for.
Well, we talk about trap game. You know, anytime you come off a very hard-fought, emotional victory, the next week, no matter who the opponent is typically difficult. You can't. It's hard to sustain that type of emotion. But in terms of who Beach is, I'd say they're. We haven't seen them for a couple years. I'd say very much improved. They got a quarterback that runs around and throws a good ball. They got a couple kids that can really run, and they've got some big linemen, and they're doing some good things. So they played Long fairly close, especially early. They played Liberty close. They beat Johnson. So I mean, I told our guys this will be we'll have to play quality football to get a win this Friday.
I feel like we played together as a team. We played out good, and starting off during the season or during the game, 12-0, a good comeback, and it was a good challenge. We went against a good team, and we had to play together to make that comeback.
So this week you've got Beach to set up for a letdown if you guys let it. How are y'all feeling about this week?
I feel like we're going against a good team, and if we don't play together how we played against Long, then it's going to end up being a good game.
I really think that took us in a step to where we know how good we can be and how good of a team that we can play with them only giving up about 9, I think their average was 9 yards per game before that. So I think that shows how good we can actually be with playing up against a good team, and our defense too just did a great job holding them for us to get the chance to come back. This week you've got Beach. They've struggled a little bit. It's set up for a game that a lot of teams might look past. How are y'all going into this week? It's definitely a big week for us. We can consider it a trap week for us. We just came off a huge win last week, and then this week we got to go in and just make sure we have our mindset locked in on that. Still, we're fighting for hopefully trying to get a home playoff game for first round. So it should be a big game for us. Got to win out these next 2 and got to start with this one.
The Bulloch Academy segment is brought to you in part thanks to Floors Outlet of Statesboro, located on Northside Drive. Come by and visit Mo for all your floor covering needs.
This is Paul Newman, Statesboro Real Estate. I have 3 kids that attend here. I'm a proud sponsor of Bulloch Academy Athletics and the #1 ranked Gator football team. Go Gators.
Well, the Bulloch Academy Gators coming off a big victory in their final game of the regular season against their rivals from Belleville and the Pinewood Patriots. The Gators go in to their bye week this week knowing that they are either the #1 or #2 seed, which means they'll be able to host throughout the state playoffs and even in the state championship game, which will be played this year for the first time at Paulson Stadium. We had a chance to talk with head coach Aaron Phillips and a couple of his players about how they feel they did against Pinewood as they go into the playoffs. But first, let's take a look at some of the highlights from Bulloch Academy and Pinewood. The Bulloch Academy Gators rolling into Savannah to take on St. Andrews. This one was all Gators. In the first quarter, the give to Parker Chance. He goes 43 yards. He needed 44. No problem. The give to Ike Hubbard. He's in for the score. Later, from their 22, and it's number 22 going in, Danye Garvin. Bulloch Academy extends their lead to 14-0. Still in the first. And the pass from Sam Hubbard. And Billy Kreider hauls it in at the 20. He fights down to the 12. And then from there, the give will go to Ike Hubbard again. He gets outside and gets into the end zone for his second touchdown of the game. On the ensuing kickoff, Micah McDonald had a big game. This one bouncing around the 5-yard line. The Saints try a reverse, nothing doing. The ball on the ground. Bulloch Academy recovers and will quickly score. Danye Garvin gets the call. He goes in for his second touchdown of the game. 28-0 Gators. The defense playing solid here. Jack Lanier comes up with the hit for a loss. And then later, it's Spencer Gallo getting in there for the big hit. We're still in the first quarter here. And it's Garvin again. He goes all the way for the score. Bulloch Academy continuing to come up with plays. This time Gallo with the interception at midfield. We go to the second quarter with the Gators leading 34-0. They'd add to it as Shamar Jenkins scores from 10 yards out. The defense continuing to apply the pressure. Here the ball tipped into the arms of freshman Connor Perry, who returns this one all the way down inside the 30-yard line. That would lead to another Jenkins touchdown, almost an instant replay, and it's 48-0 at the half. Second half, and it's more of the same. This ball tipped into the arms of Keontae Maynor with the interception. The offense takes over at midfield. The handoff goes to Connor Perry. The freshman fights his way down to the 23-yard line. And then J.B. Roach in at quarterback, keeps it himself. And he battles his way down inside the 5. From there, it's Rocco Reese getting some PT. He fights his way into the end zone. And Bulloch Academy rolls to a final of 55-0. This segment sponsored in part by Total Tire of Statesboro, located at 2703 Northside Drive, featuring friendly, courteous staff. Come see them today for all your automotive needs, featuring alignments, suspension, brakes, tires, and more.
Taking the 3 weeks off, we had to restart and kind of go back to some basics and do some, kind of worry about us and, have real physical practices and things like that. And, we just decided, hey, that's what we're going to do the rest of the year. So it's worked the last few weeks. We've been able to run the football at will. And one thing is we play great defense. We're kind of hitting it where we want to be. We got, knock on wood, we got everybody healthy right now. And going into the playoffs, we don't really know who we're going to play yet. We play the winner of Mount DeSales and Pacelli. So just kind of, this week is kind of work on us, kind of continue to do some different things. We showed some different things on Friday that, gave Pinewood a little bit of trouble, defensively. And we created some mismatches out there and was able to take advantage of it. And one thing I was super pleased with is the long explosive plays. It's one thing to have drives and all, but, having those big explosive plays also, kind of help kind of the stakes in the heart, a little bit. So it was good to see those too.
I just feel like every day we got to keep practicing hard. Even though we have this bye week, it's easy to get complacent, we don't have a game this Friday, but we should make sure that we keep practicing hard, keep the process going good.
How exciting is it to know you're the number 2 seed in the state, and if you do continue to win, you get to play right where you started the season?
It's exciting, but we can't let that get in our heads. We gotta just keep in mind that we can be beat and anybody can beat us, and we gotta prepare every Friday like we're playing the best team in the state, and put our best foot forward out there.
I feel like as a team we're starting to play more together and we're starting to put games more together rather than just having one of us have a big play here, one of us have a big play here. We're starting to build, everybody doing the right thing at the right time together. Yeah, we're going to make mistakes, but that just happens in the game of football.
It seems like since the Frederica game, you guys have kind of taken it up a notch.
Yeah, especially at practice, we've started to go back. We go full pads until Wednesday, and we're doing some kind of hit and drill every day just to get our bodies right, especially because the teams in our region were not very successful, and they just were not very good. So we had to do things at practice, and we had to make practice hard again because we feel like the Frederica game, we came off of a 2-week bye with the hurricane, and then we just had to get it back in game shape and back in game ready. And I feel like that's what the coaches have been pushing, is just being better than we can be and outplaying our potential. So we're going to talk about this playoffs. There's a lot that we need to go through.
And as for the Portal Panthers, they lost last week, a tough one, to Screven County that went down to the wire. This week they're on the road at McIntosh County Academy. Well, as for the Southeast Bulloch softball team, they're on the road to Columbus. We had a chance to get out there for state playoff games this past week, and they were hosting Mary Persons. It went down to a third and decisive game. Let's send you out for some of the highlights and hear from Southeast Bulloch head coach Amy Civalier. Halloween treats from Brooklet. Southeast Bulloch softball opening up the state playoffs against Islands. The Yellow Jackets in control using the long ball. Hannah Griffin takes this one off the top of the fence and it's gone. Later, Megan Newham trying to do likewise. This one hits off the bottom of the fence though. She's in for a double and will come home on this single up the middle. The Jackets take a 3-0 lead. Quintrell Reed later taking this one for a ride down the left field line. It's gone. The Jackets up 8-0. Reed getting it down on the mound as well with the strikeout to end the inning. Southeast Bulloch wins game 1 12-0 and game 2 21-2. On to round 2 of the state we go. And it's Southeast Bulloch hosting Mary Persons. This one would see plenty of long balls. This time it's Marissa Waters to dead center field for the solo home run. 3-0 lead. Waters getting it done on the mound as well with the inning-ending strikeout, holding the Mary Person bats in check. Later it's Christina Tisby, and she drives this one up and away to right center field. Southeast Bulloch on top 4-0. They go on to win game 1 10-3, but Mary Persons able to come back with the long ball as well. This home run helps them go on to take game 2 by a final score of 7-4, which would force a third and decisive game. On Friday, this one was all Yellow Jackets. Tisby drives this one to the fence in right center field. That would bring home Haley Morton. Next, the wild pitch, and Ella Ray Jernigan slides in home to make it 2-0. And then with 2 on in the second, Paisley Nordoff with the single into center field. That brings both runners in. It's 4-0. Hannah Griffin later with the squeeze bunt. She's out at first, but Paige Nelson manages to score. Marissa Waters doing the rest on the mound as Southeast advances to the Elite 8, winning 7-0.
We just kept tacking on runs, and keeping the pressure on them. Marissa pitched lights out. Defense great. Just great all-around team effort. Good win.
Scoring at least 1 run in every inning except for the last. That you just kept on digging their hole.
Yep. We just kept having good at-bats, getting runners in scoring position. We were able to run on their catcher, timely hits, and we just put the pressure on them the whole way.
Back to Columbus. How's that feel? How are you guys feeling about this?
It feels really good. Our seniors were freshmen the last time that we went, and that was one of their goals. That was one of their team goals that we've kind of preached all year long, and we took it one step at a time and accomplished that goal. We're excited, and we feel like we got a good chance to compete there too.
And that'll wrap it up for this week's show. We thank you for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.